Let's talk about sex.
So today we're talking muscle and movement.
Consistency and movement for me is the key. So whether you're walking, you're cycling, playing with your kids, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's swimming, whatever it is, it's like that consistent movement throughout the day.
I remember somebody else saying it is that your VO2 max shows you how long you're going to live, and then your muscle mass and your strength shows you if you're going to live independently or not. Because the strength and your muscle, it gives you more balance, more stability, more core strength. Movement and muscle are literally the secrets to a long life, and you can't have one without the other.
During the Second World War, military analysts would map bullet holes on returning bombers or returning planes to figure out where they should reinforce the planes, the wings, the fuselage, until some young mathematician said, surely we should be mapping the bullet holes on the planes that didn't return. Those are the bullet holes in the cockpit, in the engine. We do exactly the same thing when it comes to healthcare. We track metrics that are easy to see. What does the scale say? How many steps have I taken today? What's my cholesterol? What's my BMI? But those aren't the numbers that really matter. The numbers that matter, the numbers that are reinforcing the engine and the cockpit, there's just two of them: your fitness and your strength. Those numbers determine how long and how well you're going to live. And most of us are negotiating with them. So today we're talking muscle and movement. And we have Mr. Muscle right here to give us all those insights of how it actually gets done without feeling guilty about whether we do or don't.
I feel like I was made and designed to just move. I was one of those kids that could not sit still, active. When you tell me to rest and recover, I don't deal well with that.
It's like I sit in the corner. There are two numbers. So we talk about fitness and strength. Two numbers that we need to track that are key. Above all the other kind of vanity metrics, if you like, and it's VO2 max, which is our cardiorespiratory fitness, and grip strength. Those two numbers, if you figure out what that is, your VO2 max is such a great proxy for longevity, how long you're going to live, and grip strength is a great proxy for how well you're going to live. And VO2 max, people often say, what? That's your body's ability to use oxygen maximum. It's your horsepower, it's your output. Unfortunately, Garmin varies from Apple, varies from all sorts of other metrics in terms of what they are, but you need to figure out which VO2 max you're going to track and follow that. If your VO2 max is going up, you can have longer and better. If it's going down, TikTok. Not TikTok as in TikTok, but like time's running out.
I remember somebody else saying it is that your VO2 max shows you how long you're going to live, and then your muscle mass and your strength shows you if you're going to live independently or not. Because the strength and your muscle, as you're going forward, I think you call it your body armor. Yeah. It gives you more balance, more stability, more core strength, and that stops falls. Because as you're getting older, one of the things you need to prevent is having a fall. And so what we're going to be speaking about today is being able to live longer by getting a bit of fitness. It doesn't all involve heavy cardio, so I think that's good news for all of our listeners. And the muscle mass, the armor that's on your body, that is the single most predictor of a good, healthy lifespan, health span, a long, good life. And I think that's why it's so important to talk about.
Absolutely. And Sean, you mentioned muscle mass. It's actually muscle strength. So muscle mass, and I know you meant that, often confused with big biceps and a large TikTok following. No, thank you very much. It's still there, you know. Not quite there, but almost. And now we're comparing
the short sleeve length is back. I see this short sleeve length has come back.
The idea is strength, and you said independence, the ability at 80 to get up off your chair without assistance, to be able to pick up a bag and put it in an overhead cabin luggage hold. That's what you want. That's your independence. And to your point, Sean, falls, that ends lives. There's a horrendous statistic that says 1 in 3 people over the age of 65 who have a hip fracture will be dead within a year because they stop moving, they stop exercising. So you want to keep that muscle mass. And the best measure, grip strength. Don't go around just measuring grip strength or, weight and grip. That's not going to work. It's a proxy for overall muscle strength.
Because just also recently, there's been an explosion of influencers over the various social media just talking about muscle, muscle, muscle. It's literally the holy grail. It's the secret to life. Is your view the same on that as well?
It is, but not to the extent of now I need to live in the gym. Because I think that's the message that people are hearing. I need to be in the gym at 5:30 every morning pushing heavy weight. No, 2 to 3 sessions of a proper program at gym is all you need.
I'm so glad you said that, because when I was going through my own personal transformation last year when I lost 35 kgs, I didn't want to do it by marathon running and doing 7 days in the gym. So I only did 2 strength sessions a week, and that was only for about 45 minutes. And obviously I did put on some muscle. I lost some weight, but I was doing a lot of other things as well, and which I think were as important, restricting, making sure I was eating within my calories that I had my goals for, all the other therapies I was doing, and lots of walking as well. And I think the confidence that I got out of it was, you don't have to live in a gym. You know, I think a lot of people get overwhelmed. They see the people, the influencers, and think, I have to live in the gym. And it's not for everyone. You know, there's a certain set of people that love it and they must carry on doing it. But I wanted to make sure that I could do it in a way that suited me, and that wasn't living in the gym. So I did two a week, strong sessions, 45 minutes. My strength increased, my muscle mass increased, and my fat decreased. So that body composition change, you get the double whammy, because when you're losing fat and putting on muscle, your body fat percentage goes down very fast, because the one's going up and the one's going down. So I think for me it was a case of knowing that it's not just all about the gym, and that gave me enough confidence that some of these other things that we do are as important, but you can't just do 2 sessions of gym and nothing else and expect massive change. So there's a quid quo pro that I wanted to mention here. Don't have to spend so much time, but you need that strength. You need that increase in muscle.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we break it down because it's overwhelming when it comes to all the different training mechanisms out there. What I do, what you do, is always going to be different. For me, if I look at VO2 Max first, you mentioned VO2 Max and fitness in the same breath, right? So I also heard someone talking about the lack of sprinting we do as we get over a certain age. Like I think it's 30 or something. The general population out there doesn't do a sprint. And that's also connected to your VO2 max.
Yeah.
So I think what people feel overwhelmed with is they hear the word fitness and they think I have to kill myself in the gym. But you can work on your VO2 max by doing a 20-second high intensity running session. Am I correct? Is that the same VO2 max that you're working on, the heart muscle, or is it a completely different thing?
So it's nuanced. I would say there are 2 ways you can improve your VO2 max. Not I would say, the science says 2 ways that you can effectively improve your VO2 max. One is zone 2 training, and we can talk to that in a moment. That's training at a conversational pace, which is amazing. The other is what you described now, HIIT workouts, high impact interval training. That's that 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, 30 seconds on until I want to throw up and I want to give up, but I keep going. That builds VO2 max as well. Those 2 sessions. And I would say in a week, if you can do 3 sessions of zone 2 training and 1 session of HIIT workouts, you're building your VO2 max. It's going in the right direction as opposed to the wrong direction.
So
and just by getting older, my VO2 max is slowly getting worse.
Yes.
And we need to combat that.
So you're saying they're both equally important?
Absolutely.
Because just walking is not going to sort out your VO2 max, or just high intensity training. There's a difference in the 2.
If you take it to the studies, you probably get slightly more gains in VO2 max with HIIT workouts, but you cannot only do HIIT and no zone 2 to sustain that growth in VO2 max.
Yeah.
It's a combination for sure.
And I would feel like in my world, I agree completely, because I feel for me, what's really important is the consistency in what I do, right? So the first thing, I said this to Sean the other day, the number 1 rule of the game is to stay in the game. So guys who do high rocks or whatever mechanisms they use, but they injure their back, or heavy lifting and they injure their back, then you can't train in the gym for a long period of time. So whatever works for you by coming back the next day, that consistency is for me as a really crucial part of getting to the gym or going for a walk. That's why I had to park mountain biking, because I was like, this doesn't speak to the number one rule of the game, because this feels like it's really, really dangerous.
How you ride. You ride with me, man.
And
Just
I
take me.
enjoy it because it's that competition, it's that,
Adrenaline.
but it's probably something that it's something I will do more of when I'm post playing cricket, because I'm trying to avoid
Going
getting
over the handle.
injuries.
Yep.
I'm trying to do that on the cricket field, but outside of the cricket field, it's obviously more important because it's not your job. So for me, it's that consistency. So I don't feel like I have to kill myself when I go and work out, because there's consistency to it. So I would agree with you. I would go three times a week, weight training, because you can go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's separate. You can work on different muscle groups. But in between that is a walking session. I can go with the wife into the mountains, and we can go for a walk, and it's great and it's fun. And there's that connection period. I can throw on a weighted vest to feel more like I'm getting something out of it. And then the other session on the Thursday would be my high interval HIIT training, where it's the fast sprinting. So I feel like there is a variety with the consistency.
Yeah.
And not once, maybe bar your high interval training, do you feel like I've worked out, but the rest of the week it feels at a 6 out of 10 level.
Exactly.
And I think people misunderstand that about training. They go, I don't want to go to the gym because I feel like it's going to be a fitness session every time I go there. I'm going to have to throw up. And that's not the case.
No. And I love what you said about consistency. So that won't trend on TikTok because it's boring, but boring works, and it works well. The other thing is, we don't train only for VO2 max. So if you only wanted VO2 max, then do those HIIT workouts and you see, an improved VO2 max score. But you train for other reasons. You train for mitochondrial health. You train for insulin sensitivity. So zone 2 is great training for good mitochondria. Mitochondria are those energy factory cells in your body that produce something called ATP. That's the kind of currency of life. The more you do zone 2, the more mitochondria you have, the more energy you have, and the longer you're going to live, the better you're going to live. So, zone 2 has got a whole lot of additional benefits over and above just improving VO2 max.
And something I wanted to mention is that, we've recently had the Christmas break, and from our last filming, I went and took a little bit of a break. So I wasn't doing my normal 2 gym sessions, but I was doing hyperbaric, red light, sauna, cold plunge, all these other things. I'm still taking my supplements. And I didn't notice that my body went off a cliff, but I noticed that I wasn't as happy, I wasn't as positive, I wasn't as loving life as I was before. And the only metric that I changed was those 2 workouts. So although I kept thinking they were for muscles, but they're as much for your mental well-being as they are for your muscles, which I kind of had to learn the hard way. So now I've gone back to doing my 2 days a week, and I'm like, oh, this is feeling great again. I'm getting that dopamine and all of that. And so you can't
Why
go.
do you do that? Sorry, why do you get dopamine with?
Yeah, that's a good.
Well,
going to the
actually,
gym?
when you exercise, you get something called brain-derived neurotropic factor that gets released. It's basically fertilizer for your brain. So when you train, you get smarter. You become more focused. Your memories lock in. You deal with stress like a mental ninja. There are all sorts of benefits, and it stems out of this brain-derived.
Do you know how that
neurotropic
process
factor.
works? Like, I'm just trying to think practically in my body. I'm doing something for my muscles, but it's doing something for my brain.
You're asking me or you're asking God? Because I think God could answer that. I mean, He designed us, so
Exactly. Transcript or
Look, there's endorphins, so that's that sense of, you talked about I feel down, because endorphins are triggered by exercise. They make you feel good. They're painkillers. You get that. Dopamine is the reward molecule, so that's the thing that you get when you do something that you didn't really want to do. You do it anyway, and boom, you get some of that dopamine, that immediate reward. You get that from responding to emails as well. So it's not only exercise induced, but the other thing is exercise has been shown to be as effective as Prozac when it comes to dealing with depression, mild to moderate depression, which really says something about the kind of hormones that are generated when you exercise. So, if exercise were a longevity drug, it'd be the most effective longevity drug we had. And it's largely free. It comes with great side effects like confidence and, sense of self-worth.
In control.
So it really is, if we're talking health span, I mean, there is nothing that can rival exercise.
But it does. Like, I mean, I I think I'm sure all of us can vouch for that day when you're feeling like flat and lethargic and a little bit depressed and a little bit negative, and you're like, oh, I don't have the energy to go to the gym right now. But as soon as you get there and you start doing something, you feel your mood lifting a little bit.
Absolutely.
And every single time when you finish with a session, you're feeling better
Yeah.
again.
And you're producing more mitochondria. So often you kind of go, I don't have the energy to exercise. If that's how you feel, exercise anyway. Your body produces more mitochondria, more energy, and you rise to the game. I heard someone say the other day, so Sean, which was such a lovely statement. He said, the reward for that six-pack that you get is not the six-pack. It's the person you became in getting that six-pack. And I love that idea.
I think I said that in one of the previous episodes. If I could choose between how I feel and how my brain works and the six-pack, I would choose the brain every time, because that overwhelmingly is a better outcome for your life and for your enjoyment and your vitality. And I think I learned that the hard way by relying on the biohacking things that, like, the red light does, stimulate mitochondria and release nitric oxide and then the oxygen from hyper. So it has some of those physiological benefits. And I was still doing them, frankly, because it was easier than picking up the weights. It's easier to lie on a red light bed and be in a hyperbaric chamber than to do, a few 100 kilograms bench press or something like that. Of course, it's easier. And combined all together, it has amazing results. But if you leave out the exercise, even if it's just twice a week, and then the walking, you leave that out, the pieces of the puzzle don't fit together. So you can't rely on biohacking to plug what exercise and walking what weight training, resistance training does to the whole package. So I think that's a very important thing. And even if you don't have those expensive machines, which almost nobody does, just be rest assured, one of the biggest impact and needle movers is that resistance training, strength training, and that walking. It really moves the needle.
Isn't there a stat on something with muscle loss at a certain age?
Yeah, from the age of 30 onwards, you're losing around 8 to 9% of your muscle mass every decade if you're not active.
Sure.
So, I mean, just that's compound interest to get to a point where you're in your 80s and you have no muscle mass. It's something called sarcopenia. And that's when independence goes, where falls happen. But exercise, the benefits of exercise, there's just so much around it. And we're talking about one or two aspects, VO2 max and strength and independence. But one of God's greatest hacks is around diabetes. When we exercise, our body has the ability to get sugar, glucose, out of our bloodstreams independently of insulin. All right. Now that's huge. That's why exercise reduces or improves your insulin sensitivity. You don't need as much insulin to get sugar out of your bloodstream. And that effect lasts for about 24 hours after every little bit of exercise. Wow. So it's a God-given hack that should be the reason we exercise every single day, to protect ourselves from diabetes that's coming to everybody.
And one of the ways that's built into one of the cultures is when we lived in Italy last year, they have la passeggiata, which is you get up after the meal and you walk. You walk around the city, the town, and you are literally not sitting there eating your ice cream or whatever. You have your ice cream, your gelato, get up and you walk. And I didn't notice many fat people walking around Italy that were Italians. That is built into their culture to do that after meal walk. And that's one of those things that controls your insulin, which means if your insulin is spiked, you're more likely storing fat. If you're controlling that, then you're not going to be storing it as fat. So it's a natural rhythm. Yeah. And that you don't have to be in Italy to walk around after a meal. Just go into your garden, walk around the block, do something. It's one of those little hacks that makes a huge difference, and other cultures have normalized them. But in South Africa, we would much rather just sit at a table and watch TV. Whereas if you just did a 10-minute walk around your block or in your garden, it would alleviate so many of the negative effects of eating late at night.
No, you're right. There's lots of great science around la passeggiata.
La passeggiata.
La passeggiata. And you know what it does? And that's being active after any meal. If you're having breakfast, lunch, dinner, etc., what it does is it reduces the postprandial glucose spike, which means the glucose spike you get after a meal. Now, you're not going to change the amount of glucose that you had by walking, but you reduce the spike. And if you reduce the spike, it means your body's requiring less insulin to deal with that spike. And so you put less stress on your body. You improve insulin sensitivity because no longer you don't need as much insulin. And so just walking for a few minutes after a meal has the most unbelievable health benefits. And it doesn't cost you a thing. So highly recommend it. Have a bite, have a walk, get back to work.
And like our bodies are designed for walking, all the joints that are running has different impacts on the body. You're going to have some joint issues at some point in your life. Walking doesn't have that same impact on your body because we are literally designed for that. And when we were meeting early last year and I was doing all these things, the one thing when we had finished speaking, you said, add some zone 2 walking. So instead of just my 2 gym sessions a week, I would do the 2 walking sessions at zone 2. So that's fast enough to be going relatively quick, but you could still talk to the person next to you. And you do that for 30 minutes. And then I just also noticed a quick decrease in fat because you're literally burning fat. You're not burning any other energy sources in zone 2 there. You're mainly burning fat. And that helped me. That also was a big part of helping me, my body composition transform. So don't underestimate walking. And there's lots of different types of walking, and we can talk about it now. But walking is the one thing that most people can do. Even if you work in an office, you can have a lunch break, walk around the block, try and find a hill, make sure it's inclined.
Exactly. Let's talk zone 2. So we bandied that word about a lot. What does zone 2 mean? For the techies amongst us, 60 to 70% of maximal heart rate, that's around zone 2. Not all of us are going to be wearing watches to measure that. So a great way of doing that is the talk test, and you referred to that very briefly. If you can sing while you're exercising, you're not exercising, okay? But if you can talk while you're exercising and not sing, that's zone 2. If you can't talk while you're exercising, that's zone 3, 4, 5. That's intense training. And the benefits, walking benefits, mitochondrial benefits, insulin sensitivity, all largely happen around zone 2. And the interesting thing, Sean, you mentioned this, when you walk, you're not only burning fat, you're burning sort of relatively more fat than you are glucose. But the magic in walking isn't the fact that fat is melting off of you. It's the fact that you're improving your mitochondrial function and the fact that you're improving your insulin sensitivity. And that's key. That's why zone 2 just rocks.
So we're talking a lot, you guys especially, about walking. The assumption that I'm making is that it's any zone 2.
Any zone 2.
Cycling, it's that same, obviously when you, like you're saying, when there's a measurable on your wrist, you can watch it.
Yeah.
What does it look like when you're cycling? Is the same thing? Would you still feel it in like the measure of singing and talking, and is it the same thing?
Yes. Now I often go riding and sing to myself, and then I know I'm not training hard enough. No, not quite. But yes, it's exactly that. It's that sense of, if you're riding in a group, it's that conversation you can have on the road or in the mountains, then you know you're at zone 2. So what's wonderful about cycling, well, again, mountain bike, I love that, is on those days that you want a nice long ride at zone 2, really good for you. But there are other days when you can really blitz it up that mountain. You can do those high impact, HIIT workouts. And that's the
So you're not one of those guys that's got the extra help on the e-bikes?
Not yet. No. I've held off on that. Not sure for how much longer.
So one question I wanted to ask you, Michael, is, see, I called you Michael, not Dr. Moore, even though I'm asking you a
Mikey.
doctor question, Mikey. But there's been a lot of talk that I saw on various socials about the fat burning source. So you're either burning glycogen, which is a form of glucose, either stored in your blood from carbohydrates or from your muscle, and then also burning muscle, almost by mistake. And there's gluconeogenesis, where your muscles can break down and provide energy, which is a real thing. Could you maybe just give us a little bit of guidance on that? Because I think there's certain people on socials that would say, if you're in a fasted state and you're in zone 3 and 4, after a few minutes of glycogen is gone, you're burning your muscle. And I know it's not as, it's much more nuanced than that. Maybe you could give us a little bit of guidance.
So, Sean, essentially 2 fuel sources in our bodies: glycogen or glucose, or fat stores. All right. Your body naturally goes for glycogen first. It's quick, easy, fast fuel. And that's what your body draws on. So your body is naturally, it wants to hack. So fast fuel is there. Fat Fat stores, a little harder to get energy out of, but very soon after its body's drawn on the glycogen stores, it's tackling fat stores. And that's what you want. You want to be metabolically flexible. That's the ability to burn both sources of fuel interchangeably. And by the way, if you keep eating high processed foods and you keep feeding your body glucose, it naturally draws on glucose all the time and becomes inefficient at burning fat for energy. That's why we don't want to have these high processed diets. By the time you've done with your fat stores, and there's lots of fat stores in our body, and you've burned through all your glucose stores, then your body looks to this thing called gluconeogenesis. So in other words, it breaks down muscles into amino acids and then converts those amino acids into energy. That's a last resort. That's not a fuel source your body's going to go for anytime soon. So imagine I've been fasting for a long time under huge stress. I'm not eating properly. There's a massive calorie deficit, all those things. Then your body goes, okay, well, now I'm going to have to tackle muscle, break it down and give you energy because it needs to feed my brain first and foremost, and then the rest of the body. So it does happen, but in my understanding, under severe circumstances, and not just because I'm overtraining in a fasted state.
That's great to know, because I think there's so much information out there, and a lot of time it's presented as fact, and then people can adopt their workouts accordingly. But a lot of this stuff is not as clear cut, and it needs to be nuanced and treated as such.
So I wouldn't get into the gym in a fasted state if I want to do a proper weight load workout, because you do need that glucose for the energy to push harder and harder. And we're going to talk about it in a moment, but bone density is really important. The best way to build bone density is to progressively load your workouts. And if you don't have the glucose, if you don't have the energy to do that, you're not going to be pulling as heavy and you're not going to be building as much muscle. And maybe that's where the misunderstanding comes from. If you train in a fasted state, you can't build muscle. No, you just don't have the energy to do that. You're not burning muscle.
That's great to know. But maybe we should go through some of those structural elements, especially in relation to walking, and then we can carry on from there. Because I think there's, we don't just talk about walking as in a leisurely stroll around the block. It's like intent. What's the word I'm trying to look? Intentional walking. So it's like going until you can almost not speak to the person next to you. It's not just an amble around the block with your sandwich in your hand. So generally it's advised for it to be inclined, because that's, again, putting a bit of load on your body. And the way to elevate it is, in America they call it rucking, but I don't think that's a good thing to call in South Africa, because we're talking about scrums, etc., clean outs. But I think weighted walking, or weighted vest, or what we would call a backpack. Put a backpack, put some water bottles in, 5 to 10 kgs. I will say that 10 kgs are a lot heavier than you think. So if you buy the 10 kg weight, just bear in mind it's heavier than you think. So that weight on your body is over and above your natural body weight, and that does some amazing things to your skeleton. So maybe you could just talk us through how that, what that does to your bone density, and why is that so important?
In fact, we do that as a family. We enjoy that. We mark milestones in our family's life by carrying heavy rocks up to Table Mountain and placing them. So this rucking is a natural thing we do. What we need to be careful of is saying that will always build bone density. It does to a degree, but it cannot replace a progressively loaded workout in the gym, for example, because that's what builds bone density. Your bone quickly tolerates and kind of goes, okay, so my new weight is body weight plus 10. And it adapts to that. So you need to either keep increasing that weight, or better yet, a gym program, for example, that increases load. So just keep lifting heavy things and you protect that bone density.
That's super interesting.
Particularly for...
without knowing a lot of it, I would just think that that's for your muscles. Like, my muscles is getting stronger.
Yeah. But no,
But talking about your bones getting stronger.
Absolutely.
Is super interesting. And bones, when you get older,
adapt very quickly.
Your guys' age.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. You talked about people fall, and break hips. What often happens is people break hips and then fall, and people don't realize that. So it's actually it's fragile bones that break and then we fall, as opposed to I fall and then break a bone. So it all starts with not loading properly, not carrying heavy.
So we call that the structural, like your structural body is your bones, and that is where the weighted walking or the load or the strength training increases that, and then you have your metabolic body, which is where the walking and the fitness comes in as well. So maybe you could just explain the difference between the metabolic and the structural.
Well, I think it's just a good illustration again, Sean, of the benefits of exercise. So exercise has got great physical components to it: strong bones, more muscles, metabolically, insulin sensitivity, brain-derived neurotropic factor. There's just so much that it complements and produces. I mean, testosterone in men. We if we're not sleeping, and we talked about this a couple of sessions ago, a couple of podcasts ago, if you're not sleeping at least 7 hours, your testosterone drops by 10 to 15%. That's the kind of drop we see over 10 to 15 years. Muscle training, muscle mass builds up that testosterone naturally. That's just one of the things it does. So to your point, metabolically, neurologically, physically, it's all good for you. Exercise.
What I would say, I was initially hesitant with the whole walking thing because, as I said, I feel like I need to do something that's it's a hard workout, or it's something that makes me want to feel tired afterwards. But surprisingly, after doing it for quite a bit, the incline, the extra weight that you put on yourself with a bag or with a weighted vest, I was surprised how much you sweat just by doing that. So obviously your body is actually working really hard, but it actually doesn't feel like a super hard workout. So inside your body, there's a lot happening at a very low intensity. And why it's so good, I think, is, as we said, what it does to your joints. So running, for instance, on a treadmill is like the hammering of your joints and your back. It can be quite sore, your back, your hips, especially when we get to our age. But the walking
now it's
doesn't
our
do that.
age. First it was your age, now it's our
I
age.
feel like I was being a bit harsh. I'm just pulling it back. Whereas the walking, that I was like, this is great. It's real good exercise. So the treadmill, for the first time in my life, was used as a vehicle for walking. And it's great. Like, put your earpods on, listen to some music, listen to a podcast, whatever. But I was so surprised how much I sweat.
And being outdoors is a whole added extra benefits as well. So treadmill, great if that's all you've got and you've got limited time or you can't get outdoors. But if you can go, especially in Cape Town or wherever you live, if you can go out into nature, there's whole sorts of other benefits you get for your mental health, and oxygen, vitamin D on your skin. So like our bodies are designed for walking, and there's a beautiful fat burning that comes in zone 2. There's the structural load, but then there's also the mental health. You often go and clear your thoughts when you are walking. Your eyes scan left and right. That does something, putting things from the front of your memory to the long-term memory. There's all sorts of processing things that happen. So there's like these beautiful miracles that happen when you walk. It's not just physiologically, it's your mental health as well. Yeah. So walking has been around for as long as humans have existed, and the Japanese changed it up a little bit. They have something which they call the Japanese interval walking, which is something that's quite popular on social media, and that is 3 minutes comfortable walking, normal walk, and then 3 minutes pretty much as fast as you can. And then you repeat that 3 to 5 times. And then within that 20 to 30 minute period, you've like accelerated the benefits of walking. So if you've only got 30 minutes, you want to try and do something like the Japanese interval, because it's just a way of getting benefits from a much longer walk in a shorter period of time by varying your pace. So it's just something I wanted.
My first time I tried the Japanese walk, was with my wife, and I was like, I saw this thing online, so let's try it. So I said, this is what we're going to do. Yeah. 3 minutes of normal walking, 3 minutes of walk as fast as you can. But it's probably not recommended to do it up the mountain. So I did it up the mountain, and tell you what, 3 minutes of walking at as fast as you can. You know those little steep stairs? Go and try and climb that for 3 minutes, right? I don't think it's zone 2.
I don't think you were in zone 2 either. I think your heart rate would have spiked if you looked at your watch.
100%. So it's obviously more around
slight incline, not mountainous incline. I think is the way to do it.
We're talking a lot about walking But don't miss this.
Feels like a walking episode.
It is. But we're talking zone 2 exercise.
Yes, it's not an
That's
amble.
key.
Yeah.
It's not an amble. It's not just walking. It's any zone 2 exercise. In fact, we might have talked about this already, but what's the best exercise in the world? Any guesses?
Not sitting.
Not sitting is a great answer, but it's not walking. It's not riding. It's not swimming. The best exercise in the world is the one that you will do on a regular basis. And if you love walking,
Yes.
consistency. Do walking. If you love riding, ride. If you're a swimmer, if you're a dancer, if you're a gardener and you can garden at zone 2 intensity, then garden. It just, that idea opens up the whole world of possibilities when it comes to movement, because most people are like, I don't want to go to gym. I don't want to get on a bicycle. So what do you like to do? Do that. And if it's movement, it counts, especially zone 2 movement. So it really is just to kind of alleviate that guilt that we get from all these social media, TikTok influencers to say, you've got to be doing this, and look, this is how I got that. Guys, what do you like to do? Do that, because you'll do it consistently.
And to make it even a higher superpower, take your partner, take your wife, take your husband, take your friend, go in a group, you get that social element as well. There was only a few commonalities amongst all those blue zones. Some people drank wine, some people didn't, some people ate meat, some people ate roots. There was only two things, and that was movement, usually on an incline, and social. Having community, having people that are around you, supporting you emotionally, physically, healthily. So you can actually combine both of those things with a walk with a friend at lunchtime or on the weekends. Do that 2 or 3 times a week. Not only will you have the mental health benefits, you start getting that fat burning and all of those insulin controls. Do it after meals. You don't have to go to gym and pay X amount every single day. Make sure you add some walking to it, because that gave me hope that I can share a message with a lot of people, just to trigger them to get off their chairs, whether it be a couch or a desk chair, and just get moving, because movement and muscle are literally the secrets to a long life, and you can't have one without the other.
But the connection is such an important point, Sean. Yeah, I would say forget tracking steps and rather track who you take those steps with.
100%.
Because that has a huge impact on longevity. You talked about sitting. Let's talk about that very briefly. So even if you get your daily exercise in, even if you're getting your 2 gym workouts a week and your 3 zone 2 trainings and 1 HIIT workout, if you're sitting for extended periods of time, you're still at risk for an early death. That risk is not mitigated by an active lifestyle.
Oh, wow.
So extended sitting is just bad for you. It affects your insulin, metabolism. It affects all sorts of things. And the way to combat that is not to train harder, or it's just to move more often. We talk about 10,000 steps. People try and get it at the end of the day. No. If you could literally set an alarm on your watch that goes off every hour, better yet every half an hour, and you just stand up for 2 minutes and do something, you break that prolonged sitting, and you can undo all those negative effects of sitting for extended periods of time. Really, 90 minutes or more, and your risk of early death goes up by 200%. I think we talked about this last time. There was a wonderful study that showed for every cigarette you smoke, you shorten life expectancy by 11 minutes. For every hour you sit, you shorten life expectancy by 22 minutes. I mean, that's terrifying. That study came up with the phrase, sitting is the new smoking.
That's super interesting, because if I think, I don't do that, but I'm thinking now in my other world, I'm sitting at a desk and I'm working, right? I go to the gym in the morning. I do everything I'm supposed to be doing. I do my perfect hour or 45 minutes every day. But for the rest of the day, from 9 to 5, I'm sitting behind a desk. You're actually now saying that also doesn't really have a positive influence.
It's exactly the same as saying, guys, I run 10 kilometers a week, but I still smoke a pack a day. Smoking's still bad for you, even if you're running 10 kilometers a day. Same with sitting.
Sure.
But you can mitigate that. You can reduce those risks of sitting by just moving more often. Every half hour, get up, make a phone call, chat to someone, pick a fight with someone, do something physical.
Walking and talking on a cell phone.
Walking.
There you go.
Talking.
That's a good one.
So you've been an elite sportsman now for 3 decades,
essentially.
Few years, maybe 2.5 decades. If you were speaking to our viewers that just want to know what are some of the things that they can do in their daily life. They aren't elite sportsmen, but what are some of the things that you've picked up that they could do in their daily life that could improve their life? Because that's what all people want. On more good days, they just want to know what are the little things that they could do. They might not be able to go sprinting every day, but in your experience, was there anything that moved the needle in a way that you could share that and give people something practical to do?
No, I've had this conversation quite regularly because I think people do look at sports people and what they do, and people that's been in the industry for a while. And it's the stuff that we've been speaking about right now. For me, it's people think that it's super hard training. It's crazy workout. It's, hanging upside down and pulling yourself up and all of that stuff and weird. And it's not. For me, it's the simple things, but consistently. So I would say we've spoken on previous episodes about food. So I think that's a really important aspect of this as well. What do you put into your body? Because that helps a lot. And you did speak about that as well. But consistency and movement is, for me, is the key. So whether you're walking, you're cycling, you're playing with your kids, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's swimming, whatever it is, it's like that consistent movement throughout the day, I think makes a big difference, because I generally feel like, for me, going to the gym is never a case of I'm training for an hour and a half and 2 hours, and that's what people think we do as sportsmen, but it's not. It's just smarter training. It's not complicated stuff. It's, I'm going to do this today. There's purpose. So I'm doing that on a Monday, that on a Tuesday, that on a Wednesday, that on a Thursday, and that gives structure to my week. But that consistency, I feel, sets me up to do all the different things that we've all spoken about now, that ticks all the right boxes. And it's not that complicated. It's actually very simple, but it is, the secret sauce is in the consistency.
I think that's just amazing, because I wasn't exactly sure what you were going to say, and I can, if you think about it from a viewer's point of view, the elite sportsman is not the scenes from Rocky, where they're all in boot camp and they're just 24/7, like smashing. That's not how a lot of people like yourself do this. It's about the consistency. So that gives people hope that if they can consistently do some things as well, like walking, everything that, as you said, Dr. Mo, anything that they can do and will do is the most important exercise.
And I would
So I
say,
think that's so hopeful.
I would say the other thing is, and that's relevant to all walks of life, is that there's no one way of doing things. So even in the sporting world, we don't have the same workout routines, because every body is different. So like literally every physical, the way that we train. So I can do high impact training or high weight training, but someone else can't. One athlete that is exactly built like I am can do all these heavy lifting, power lifting stuff. I can't. So there's just figuring out what works best for you. As I said earlier, what keeps you going back, what keeps you staying in the game, and that creates that habit of consistency.
So, Faf, question for you, as I kind of have to stare at those biceps sticking out of your sleeves every time we have a podcast. But when you are training, and I'm talking about in the gym, increasing load, how many reps would you do? So let's, for example, you're doing a bicep curl. How many reps do you do?
That's a great question, because we've spoken a lot about this in training, different training programs. So I think always just used to do what I thought was right. So then it's almost like anything between 8 and 12, like that's your reps to failure. And I would do that always, the same way as always. But it's only up until about 2-3 years ago, when one of the trainers working with me was talking about, when you are in competition, explosive training in terms of the amount of reps comes down, because then you're not actually trying to build muscle mass, you're trying to have that explosive power, because that's what you do. You have to have from A to B quickly, and obviously it is 6 quickly. So then the reps comes down, but it's like almost that explosiveness to it. So then, that changed. So now it's more like 6 in competition, and 8 to 12 anything out of competition. It feels like I'm never out of competition though, because we're always playing cricket. But at the moment, I'm just looking back to getting to my 6 reps.
But you know what's great about that, and I think particularly for the women that are watching, all too often I see women toning, and they're doing 40 reps with a pink barbell. No, avoid the pink barbells, avoid the blue ones, avoid the green ones. Lift heavy and do what Faf does. 6 to 8 reps. That's how heavy you need to lift. And ladies, you're not gonna bulk up like a She-Hulk. You're not gonna get hair on your top lip. I promise you, it's good for you. You want to muscle up. You really do.
No one ever became a bodybuilder by mistake.
Exactly.
It's a highly intentional thing. You're not just going to suddenly get, massive boulder shoulders by doing that, but you are going to increase your muscle mass and you are going to live longer.
But it is that progressive overload. Like it's also understanding what that means. And once again, I don't think most of us knew what it meant, but just I can do this week. I'm trying to do 1 rep more or 1 kilogram or 2 kilograms more the next week. Your body adjusts so quickly.
Exactly. And just get your technique right, because that's the other danger is if you can lift that heavy and you're doing it wrong, you're going to injure yourself. So make sure your technique is right. Lift as heavy as you can and go.
Talking about technique.
Yeah. Wow. Yes.
I've got a question for you. It's a little bit off the topic.
We're going sex. I can imagine. I can just see.
We're talking zone 2. We're talking training. I feel like I have to ask the question because none of you guys are going to ask the question.
Okay.
Let's talk about sex.
So sorry.
First,
so you said let's talk about training and then sex. So are you still training when it comes?
I'm asking.
Or have you perfected?
Is it VO2 or is it? In what zone are we?
Wow.
What are we training
over
for?
to you, Dr. Mike.
Well, I mean, when you say zone, is it foreplay or is it
What are we? Is it? I'm healthy. What is it doing to my heart?
Well, let me tell you what it does do to your cardiovascular status. Okay, and this came out of a study done years ago in 2010, a male Massachusetts study. It was in the American Journal of Cardiology. They showed that men who have sex once a month are at the highest risk of cardiovascular events, and men who have sex 2 to 3 times a week have the lowest risk for cardiovascular events. But an average man will burn around 350 calories if he has sex for an hour. And I know every woman watching is going, if a guy can have sex for an hour, he's not an average man, which is an obvious statement. So, but I think let's probably wrap it up there.
I think as we wrap, I think it's just important just to go back to that consistency thing in all seriousness. I think that's one of the best things that we can take out. Like if you've added stuff to your normal routine and you find something that works for you, just keep doing it. It's not about doing the latest, fitness trend. It's just about making sure that you're consistent, that you're not sitting down all the time, and that you're getting out and doing something that works for your body. So for me, it's gym twice a week and walking twice a week. There's a perfect combination of fat burning and strength building and muscle mass increasing. And for me, that works, but it's different for everybody. So Mike, how would you like to finish it off for us?
I think 3 things, Sean. So I love systems. And when it comes to muscle and movement, which is what our podcast was about today, 3 things. Build your aerobic capacity, the VO2 Max. Make sure you build your muscle strength, your armor, and make sure you build in recovery. And by that, I mean good sleep, manage your stress, because if you get all 3 right, you're rocking. If you get one of those wrong, something is eventually going to break. Lifespan, health span is not complicated. It's just unglamorous consistency, to quote Fuff and the facts.
And because we have Fuff, the elite athlete here, the closing's over to you, buddy. This is one for you.
Yeah, you just had 2 of the biggest lines ever, and you're asking me to close. I am not going to even try.
Come on, you can do it.
Just say what we all want to hear. I'm a 3 to 4 a week guy.
My goal is to be a 3 to 5 a week guy.
I'm going to assume you mean the gym, moving swiftly along.
Of course.
Guys, please let us know what you thought about the episode. We can't cover it all. We can't in any of these small format sessions, but let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what did we miss, what would you like to see in the future episodes. Thanks for joining. Please like, subscribe. It means the world to us when you do that. It helps us grow. It helps us create momentum to get this going so that we can share all this good information and everybody can have some more good days.